We are in this introductory class for the Adhyasa Bhashya of Adi Shankaracharya. I just want to emphasize that this is an introductory class. We are not really going to go through it line by line because that would be a really full course. It would take months and months to read this. This is so deep and there is so much that has been written about it. I'll tell you some of the stuff that has been written, the sub-commentaries, in the next class. But this is just like a filler. We have 3 classes in between 2 Upanishads. We completed the Kathopanishad and we're going to take up, my plan is to take up the Mundaka Upanishad next. So the classes will stop for a month in April. And so I thought maybe these classes, the 3 Wednesdays open to us, we could use it for the Adhyasa Bhashya. Many people wanted classes on the Adhyasa Bhashya. So that's the reason why we are doing it. So there isn't time to go through this line by line. However, I did read the first line last time, and because it's so profound. Let me start with the traditional chant, and then we will go on to the reading the first line again, a quick introduction to what Adhyasa is, the core concept of that, its actual application in our spiritual life. And then I will try to summarize what remains of the Adhyasa Bhashya, just in English in a few short sentences, so that we have an overview without trying to read the whole text. So first, the traditional chants. Om Narayanam Padmabhavam Vasishtham Shaktim Cha Tatputra Parasharam Cha Vyasam Shukam Gaudapadam Mahantam Govinda Yogendra Mathasya Shishyam Shri Shankaracharya Mathasya Padmapadam Cha Hastamalakam Cha Shishyam Tam Totakam Vartikakaram Manyadasmadgurun Santatamanatosmi Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Shankaracharya wrote this very important commentary on the Brahma Sutras. The Brahma Sutras are the sutra literature which present the system of Vedanta philosophy. Now that has to be explained, and Shankaracharya explains it in his Bhashya or commentary on the Brahma Sutras. But before beginning to explain the Brahma Sutras, he writes this amazing introduction, which is called Adhyasa Bhashya, the commentary dealing with Adhyasa. Adhyasa is a Sanskrit word meaning superimposition. What is superimposition? That sounds forbiddingly technical. It just means making a mistake, taking something for what it is not, taking a rope to be a snake, mistaking a rope to be a snake, not knowing that it's a rope, thinking it's a snake, not knowing that the sky is colorless, thinking it's blue or red or whatever, not knowing that we are just pure consciousness, taking ourselves to be a mixture of body, mind, and consciousness. This is Adhyasa, and this is superimposition. Very, very important. This is, philosophically speaking, this is a central conception in Advaita Vedanta. If you get this, you will see all throughout. This is how Shankaracharya makes sense of the Gita, the Upanishads, the Brahma Sutras. This is how he explains every possible question in spiritual life, or every possible philosophical question. You'll see how important it is. And it's not new. We have come across this throughout our studies of Advaita Vedanta. When we study Advaita Vedanta, we keep coming across, the old snake and the rope. We keep coming across ignorance is the problem and knowledge is the solution, and the world is Maya. You are already Brahman. By knowledge of your reality, you become free. All of this makes sense only if Adhyasa is established. If what Shankaracharya wants to say here, if this is true, then only all of this makes sense. All right, let me just read the first sentence once again. I'll explain first in a simple way, and then what Shankaracharya is actually saying in the text. The first sentence. Why the first sentence? Because I said this first sentence is the crucial idea of Adhyasa, or superimposition. I also quoted Professor J.N. Mahanti, who just passed last week, who said this is the most profound sentence he has ever read in all his studies of philosophical literature in the East and the West. So what is this sentence? युष्मदस्मत् प्रत्यय गोचरयो विषय विषयिणोत्तम प्रकाशवद् विरुद्ध स्वभावयोः इतरेतर भावानुपपत्तौ सिद्धायां तद्धर्माणामपि सुतराम् इतरेतर भावानुपपत्तिः इत्यतो अस्मत् प्रत्यय गोचरे विषयिणी चिदात्मके युष्मत् प्रत्यय गोचरस्य विषयस्य तद्धर्माणां च अध्यास तद्विपर्ययेण विषयिण तद्धर्माणां च विषयाध्यासो मिथ्या इति भवितुं युक्तम् तथापि अन्योन्यस्मिन् अन्यात्मकताम् अन्योन्यधर्मांश्च अध्यस्य इतरेतर विवेकेन अत्यंत विविक्तयोर् धर्मधर्मिणो मिथ्याज्ञान निमित्तः सत्यानृते मिथुनीकृत्य अहमिदं ममेदम् इति नैसर्गिकोऽयं लोकव्यवहारः. And that sounds pretty wise and difficult, and it is. I read out to you the English translation made by Swami Gambhiranji last time, and when you read the translation, we are none the wiser because we can't make head or tail of what is being said there. But if you break it down, it's pretty simple. The core idea, at least, is simple. Basically, what he's saying is that when we make a mistake about a snake and a rope, that's just an example. The snake and the rope is the example, and what he wants to say is that we are making the same mistake about ourselves. Instead of the rope, we have ourselves, the Atman, as existence, consciousness, bliss, as pure consciousness. I am that. And instead of the snake, we have body, mind, and also the external universe. So just as the rope is mistaken for a snake, a rope is not a snake, snake is not a rope, but a rope is mistaken for a snake. You are pure consciousness. You are not a body, not a mind, and yet you mistake yourselves for a body-mind. You are one, but we mistake ourselves and we think that we are many beings. You are immortal, but we mistake and we think that we are mortal. We not only confuse the two things, snake and the rope, but we confuse their attributes. So, the snake exists. Interestingly, the snake exists, the rope exists, the snake does not. But when we see the snake, we see the rope and snake together. We don't see it's a rope. We see that it's a snake, but we feel that the snake exists. The snake is poisonous. The rope is not poisonous. But when we see that rope and we don't realize it's a rope, we think it's a snake. We think it's poisonous. Oh, it's a poisonous snake there. The long and curved shape of the rope, that becomes the long and curved shape of the snake. So what we are doing is not only mistaking a rope for a snake, but confusing their attributes, their qualities. When we say the snake is, there is a snake, there is a snake, snake is, that isness actually belongs to the rope. This is something to be noted. The isness actually belongs to the rope, because after we get the correct knowledge that the rope is, it's not a snake, it's a rope. A rope is. Notice that is continues. When we first encountered this thing, we said snake is, and then we corrected it. No, not a snake. Rope is. So snake was replaced by rope. We had made a mistake. It's not a snake. Now we realize it's a rope. Very good. But notice something subtle. The is continued. Snake is, rope is. Existence continued. That existence actually belonged to the rope. It was seen by mistake as a snake. So when you say it's poisonous, That the poisonous quality belongs to the illusory snake, not to a rope. A rope is not poisonous. It is long and curved. Long and curved belongs to the rope, because even after you see the rope, it continues to be long and curved. So in a superimposition, in an adhyasa, what happens is a peculiar mixture of fact and fiction, of reality and appearance. The isness of the rope continues. It appears as the existence of the snake. The existence of the rope appears as the existence of the snake. Similarly, in our own case, as pure consciousness, I am awareness, I am the Atman, pure consciousness, and yet I take myself to be body, mind. Yes, I say I am awareness also, but a mixture of body, mind, and awareness. Now notice, what I take myself to be, this man is, or I am a man, let's say. If I'm a man, I take myself to be a man, I say I am a man. This is superimposition. When it is corrected, I will realize I am the Atman. I am awareness. And notice what continued. A man was replaced by Atman, or awareness. But what continued? I am. The I am continued. So when we are having this experience of a superimposition, it's not that we are only seeing the false, but we are also seeing the reality, a mixture of reality and falsity. When you say, I am this person, I am a man or a woman, I am an Indian or an American, whatever, but the I am it belongs to the Atman, and it's true. It's real. It will continue when you become enlightened. You will still say, I am. That my own existence continues. However, the nature of that existence will change entirely, or my understanding will change entirely. Right now, what is my understanding? My understanding is, yes, I am, but I am a man. I am an Indian. I am middle-aged. I am healthy or sick. I am rich or poor. I am highly learned, or I am illiterate. I live in India, or I live in New York. All of these, the specific attributes, they belong because of superimposition, adhyasa. When this is corrected, when I'm enlightened, it will still go on as I am. But what am I? I am awareness. I am existence itself. I am not a body or a mind. Even when the body and mind are still appearing, I am not those things. I'm very clearly awareness only, existence only. I am one, not many. I am unchanging, not changing. I am the pure subject, not an object. And I am not in New York or Calcutta or any place. And Advaitin will say Calcutta or New York are appearing in me, in me, the consciousness. So this correction will take place. But notice, one subtle point is that I am, it continues. Here is the spiritual application. Let me give you an example, something close to our time. Many of you have heard of Nisargadatta Maharaj, who was in Mumbai, who was regarded as a great non-dualist teacher. Very simple man. He used to sell those Indian cigarettes, bidis. Not a very good profession, but he did that. As a simple man, he just sold those and he made his living. And he was initiated by his guru, who gave him. So this man was he was a householder. He had a wife and kids, and he carried on with a few shops in Mumbai. Now he was initiated, and his teacher told him. Now it will make sense. It told him simple, direct instruction. Your practice is to focus on the I am. Just stay with the sense of your own existence. And Nisargadatta said, I heard what my guru said, and it's very important. I believed him, that I am is Atman or Brahman. And I tried to live accordingly. I did what he said. And so for months and years afterwards, he says, my main practice would be to stay with the sense of my own existence, the I am. Sometimes for hours together, I would just sit with that. And so what is he doing? He's focusing on the real aspect of this mixture of reality and falsity. It's like noticing the snake. You think it's a snake. Now, if you tell the person, don't be scared of the snake, don't bother about the snake, just notice that the snake exists. Just look at what is appearing to you. Just notice its existence. Focus on the existence of the thing, that which is. That may transition him from the snake appearance to the rope reality. Similarly, when you focus on the I am, you begin to realize, of course, Nisargadatta would be the best person to say. His book, I Am That is a classic, and a lot of people read it. So when you stay with it, you begin to realize the world is changing. I am. The body is changing. I am. The mind is continuously changing fast. I am. The world, body, mind appear and disappear. They appear in waking, they appear in dreaming, but they disappear in deep sleep. I am. If you just try it right now, I am seeing all this. Now, seeing all this, if I block it out, close my eyes, not seeing anymore, but I am not seeing. You say, but you can say all that, Swami, because you're thinking. Suppose you don't think, absolutely no thinking. Then you are, that I am exists as the witness of the not thinking. The I am is always there. That I am. So this is the practice that was given by Nisargadatta's guru. And at one point, he says, in his own account of his own spiritual practices, he says that, and his enlightenment, at one point, the difference became very clear. Within the language of Shankaracharya, he penetrated through the Adhyasa, he penetrated through the superimposition. He says the difference became very clear, that I effortlessly saw I am the completely trouble-free, suffering-free Atman. And I am this limitless awareness. And it became effortless after that. Nothing more need be done. And then he began to teach, of course, and became very popular. It became like a magnet for many people, not only in India, but from all over the world. That small house he stayed in. So people came from all over, and he taught them the same, stay with the I am. So all of Vedantic inquiry, Vedanta Vichara, it turns on this crucial concept. And the concept is also, it points out, even in our current day-to-day experiences, which are based on adhyasa, superimposition, the reality is still there as the I am, or as the awareness, which continues in all our experiences. Now, if we look at the sentence itself, what he has said is, if you break it down, it makes sense. It's not so difficult. See, the subject and the object are very different, he says. You and whatever you experience, they're very different. Atma and Anatma are very different. You are awareness, and the object is appearing to you in the awareness. You are one, the object is many. You are unchanging, the objects, things in the world are continuously changing. You are aware of them. None of the objects are aware of you, the consciousness, and so on. Now, Shankaracharya says, the self and the not self, you and everything else, they're so different, like darkness and light, tamah prakashavat, contradictory nature, that there should be no question of mixing them up. Rope and snake, at least you can mix up because they seem similar. You can make a mistake. But you and the object, subject and the object, consciousness and its objects, that's so different. One is awareness, one is that which you are aware of. One is unchanging, you are unchanging. Whatever is not the self is changing. You are one, non-self, or the objects are many. You are always trouble-free. The objects are a mess. You as the self, you are real, and the objects are appearances in you. They are false. You are satyam, they are mithya. In so many ways, self and not self are opposed like light and darkness. Tamah prakashavat. Tamah, darkness. Prakasha, light. So there should be no question of mixing them up like a rope and a snake. Not only they should not be mixed, they cannot, it should be difficult to mix them up, or impossible. And their qualities also, it's like how strange it is that their qualities also are getting mixed up, because the qualities are different. um, you know, changing, unchanging. These are the qualities of the self and the not self, one and the many, the real and the appearance, awareness and not awareness. These are the attributes of the self and the not self. They are so different from each other. There should be no question of, imposing the qualities of the not self on the self and the self on the not self. And he says, yet, he says, tathapi. Yet, it's a fact. All through our lives, continuously from day to day, all through our lives, we see this continuous mixing up of the self and the not self. This adhyasa, superimposition of the self and the not self, and their qualities. What is the self? Atma, pure consciousness. What is the not self? Body. And what do? I am a body. Mixing up, adhyasa. I am this body, or it is my body. What is the quality of the self or the attribute of the self? Actually, they are not attributes, the very nature of the self. But anyway, for the purpose of this discussion, attribute is awareness. And then what is the attribute of the body? Not aware. You are aware of the body. The body is not aware. But what do we actually say? I am aware. I, this person. Now I have superimposed the quality of the self on the not self, the quality of Atma on body. Atma is aware, awareness, and body is not aware. But now I'm saying this is an aware body, an aware mind. I am unchanging consciousness. Body is ever changing. But what have I done? I am changing, the good old times when we were children and in school. Now we become older. How? Has pure consciousness become old? No, it's the body which has become old. The old age of the body is superimposed on consciousness. So, disease, I feel hungry, I feel sick, I feel tired. Hunger is an attribute, a function of the prana. I'm superimposing upon myself the consciousness. Sickness is in the prana, in the body. I come superimpose on myself. I am tall or short. These are qualities of the body. I superimpose on I, the consciousness. And the opposite is also happening. Your real attributes or your real nature, which is consciousness existence. Now I'm putting that on the body mind. Mind is conscious. All of modern consciousness studies, this is the core confusion. Shankaracharya would say this is superimposition. What is modern consciousness studies? They will say we study mind, consciousness. Immediately it will catch. We are making a mistake. Consciousness and mind are not the same thing. They should not be the object of the same study. So mind is conscious. You are conscious. You are consciousness, but we feel mind is conscious. You exist. We feel body exists, mind exists. And obscured the reality. What is the reality? The snake appearance obscures the rope reality. This body, mind, and world appearance obscures the Atman or Brahman reality. So this is the state of affairs. To put it very simply, what Shankaracharya is claiming is like a mistake we often make. Like, there are many such examples, like snake and rope. What is actually a rope, you mistake it to be a snake. And then there are effects, you get scared and all that. Similarly, you are pure consciousness, existence, consciousness, bliss, limitless awareness. You take yourself to be a body, a mind, a personality. And then there are enormous consequences. Pleasure, the hunting for pleasure, the suffering of pain, all of samsara, karma, everything comes because of this superimposition. Samsara comes because of this. This is Shankaracharya's claim. Now, let's go into some discussion. Detailed dialectics, the arguments, you can find a lot of that material in that handout which I shared. Professor Mani Dravid Shastri, some 26 pages. He has poured all his learning into those lectures on Adhyasa Bhashya. So you can go through that. And in simple English, it's a translation from his, I think, Tamil lectures probably. Or Sanskrit lectures. But I'll summarize very quickly. Here are the objections. The objections come from various different schools of Indian philosophy. So they say, not so fast, Shankaracharya. Your snake and rope example is fine, but the superimposition of the not self, body, mind on the self consciousness, this is not correct. It's not logical. Why not? Four major objections. One objection is that, see, the snake and the rope, it is understandable. Snake and rope are similar. Sadrishya, similarity is there. One can, it's commonsensical why a person would mistake a rope for a snake. They look alike. A rope looks like a snake. But there is no similarity here. You yourself have said the self and the not self, consciousness and the body mind are so, you have said they're like light and darkness. You have put your foot in it yourself. You have said they're light and darkness, they're completely dissimilar. How can you make a mistake? You can mistake a rope for a snake. You can't mistake a rope for a dog or a cat. But here the dissimilarity is much more. Self and not self, like light and darkness, to quote you yourself. So how is a mistake possible? Mistake is not possible. Superimposition, adhyasa, not possible. Why? Sadrishya abhava, the lack of similarity. One objection. Second objection, all right, let me give you the answers for each of them, and then we will go on. Shankaracharya says that similarity is not always necessary. He says dissimilar things can also be mistaken. They can be adhyasa or superimposition. Example he gives, akasha, space. Now, children, when they look up into the sky above, they think it's like an inverted bowl, like a surface is there, tala, like a surface. It looks like a bowl. We are under the bowl of the sky. There's no surface there. It's just empty space, but it looks like that. And children might think it's like a bowl or it's an inverted surface. Now, a bowl and sky are very different. And yet, children mix it up. Malinata. Malinata means dirt. Sometimes as kids, I know I did it. We think that the sky is dirty. Sky has become dirty. Maybe there are clouds or there are dust clouds or something. Well, the sky never becomes dirty. But we mistake the presence of clouds or dust as something that is sticking to the sky. Children might make such a mistake. So two entirely dissimilar things. The entirely formless, surfaceless space is mistaken for the surface of a bowl, of the inner surface of a bowl. The completely untouched sky is seen to be dirty, for example. Similarly, Shankaracharya says, consciousness and its objects, though they are entirely different, self and the not self, though they are entirely different, there's no similarity, yet they can be mistaken, and they are mistaken for each other. So we take the body-mind to be the self, although we are not body-mind. Second objection is, the opponent refines this position and says, look, I don't really mean, similarity in a crude sense. What I mean is, the snake and the rope are out there. They're objects of perception. You see a snake, you see a rope, and you can mix them up. So they are pratyaksha. Things which are seen can be confused, which may be seen or heard or smelt or tasted. They're objects of our senses, pratyaksha vishaya. They're objects of our senses, and it's possible to confuse one for the other. But the self is not an object. So you cannot, how can you confuse an object like the body mind for the self, which is not an object? Two objects can be confused, but the subject and object, how can you confuse? The self, according to you, is not something that can be seen. It's not an object of perception. Then how can you confuse it for some object? If you see the question, Shankaracharya says that, again, it's not a necessary condition, because the same example can be used to explain the Akasha, space example. Now, remember, they're debating with the Nyaya philosopher, for example. According to the Nyaya Vaisheshika philosopher, space is not an object of perception. To see to see space, you cannot see space. You can see something with a form. Space has no form, so we don't see space, and that's actually pretty logical. It's the brain which constitutes, after mind and the brain, which generates this idea of gap of space. You are not actually seeing space. You see things in space. Literally, eyes can't see lack of surface. Eyes will only see when light is reflected of something. So space is not something that is seen, and yet children say that the space has a the sky above is like an inverted bowl, or the sky has become dirty. They are making a superimposition, a mistake about something which is not an object of perception. All that you need to know, Shankaracharya clarifies, all that we need to know is that the self exists. That much is needed. That I am. If you know that much, then you can have a confusion about what I am. To repeat that, how, even though the self is not an object, if you just know about your own existence, that I am, and then the confusion can come that I am this or that. It need not be, the self need not be an object of perception. Just the knowledge of your own existence, that I exist, that much is enough for confusion to ensue. So that's the second objection. The third objection is that well, you are saying the self is known, I am, you know that you exist. But for superimposition to happen, adhyasa to happen, it must be unknown. The rope is unknown. Therefore, it is mistaken to be a snake. But you know you exist. You know yourself. I know myself. What is unknown about this? Then how can I make a mistake? Look, this is a subtle variation of the arguments. The arguments are very nice, back and forth. The moment Shankaracharya says, it need not be an object of perception. You just have to know that you exist. It's enough for superimposition. Immediately the opponent picks up on that. Yes, so you know that you exist. But then in order for there to be superimposition, there must be ignorance. You must not know. The rope is not known, and therefore there is a problem. You mistake it for a snake. Now you are saying you know yourself, you know the self. We all agree we know ourselves. Who else knows myself more than me? Then how can there be a mistake? Ignorance is necessary for mistake. Ajnana is necessary for adhyasa. But there is no ajnana here. The self is known. When Shankaracharya clarifies, of course we know the answer. Shankaracharya clarifies, it is partial ignorance which is necessary. So for example, even the rope is not totally unknown. You feel there is something there in the darkness. What's there? What's there? Oh, it's a snake. But when you said something is there, you're not wrong. There is something. There's a rope. But that rope part of it was not known. What it is was not known. But that it is was known. Similarly, we know we exist. But we do not know that we are limitless existence consciousness bliss. We do not know that we are Brahman. We do not know that we are immortal. We do not know that we are the reality of this universe. That we don't know. We just know that we exist. That much is enough for superimposition to occur. So partial knowledge and partial ignorance. That is the perfect condition, in fact, for superimposition to occur. Then the opponent changes track. He says, wait, rope and snake, you mistake a rope for a snake. Because, why do you do that? Because you have seen a snake earlier. You've seen a snake. Now, you've seen a real snake. Now you're making a mistake. It's not a snake, it's a rope, but you're making a mistake. It's like an illusion, a snake comes. But only because you've seen a snake earlier, and the real snake. Now you are saying that Brahman is there and the world, and you're mistaking Brahman for the world, or you are pure consciousness. Same thing. You are pure consciousness, but you're mistaking yourself for body-mind. Why will you mistake yourself for body-mind? Because you must have experienced body-mind earlier. So there must be a real body-mind. There must be a real world for you to make a mistake. There is a real snake which you have seen. maybe in the garden or in the zoo. And now you make a mistake by seeing what is not a snake, a rope, as a snake. So there must be a real world, a real body, real mind, that which you have experienced earlier. Now you say you're making a mistake by seeing the body mind, consciousness as body mind. But in that case, why say such things? Just admit that the body mind are real. The world is real. You are a body mind. Why are you saying it's a mistake? Do you see the two steps of the argument? The step is, yes, in the case of a snake and a rope, we admit, the opponent will say, we admit it's a real mistake. You're mistaken about it. It's a rope, but it's a snake. You have seen a snake earlier. You're making a mistake thinking it's a snake. But in this case of body and mind, it need not be a mistake. You are actually seeing a body mind, because you have to admit that a real body mind exists in order for you to make a mistake. Otherwise, where will you even get experience of a body mind? So that means this works even better in the Brahman and the world. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Brahman is real, the world is false. Advaitin we claim. Where is this world? Here in Brahman itself, you're making a mistake, a superimposition. Just like seeing a rope as a snake, you're seeing Brahman as the world. But the opponent says, in order to see a false world, you must have experienced a real world. Otherwise, where will the false world come from? Just like a snake. And if you have experienced a real world, then a real world exists. Why claim that the world is false? So this is where the opponent pushes the non-dualist. The non-dualist, Shankara or Advaitins, will answer. His answer is very subtle but very powerful. What is necessary for making a mistake? Opponent says, you must have seen a snake earlier. You must have seen a snake earlier. You must have experienced a snake earlier. Need not be a real snake. For example, a child who has never seen a snake in his or her life, who has seen a snake in a movie, who has seen a snake in a picture book, can make a mistake, can mistake a rope for a snake. Because the samskara of a snake is there in the mind. All that is necessary for the samskara, or the tendency, the impression to be there, is to have an experience. It need not be of a real snake. It could be of an appearance. An experience of a false snake can give you the samskara of a false snake and make you see a false snake later. An experience of a nightmare, if you have it once, you can have a recurrent nightmare again and again and again. Where does it come from? From the previous nightmare. Where did that come from? From the previous nightmare. Similarly, samsara and body and mind, we are getting it because of our past samskaras. But where did those past samskaras come from? From earlier superimposition, from earlier adhyasa. We inhabited this world of Maya for many lifetimes. We are getting these samskaras, and therefore we are repeating it again and again. We are seeing a world, we are seeing body, mind, where only Brahman exists. But then the question will arise, all right, but where did this first samskara come from? A related question. You said, I am experiencing body mind now, world now, because of my past experiences of the world and body mind. Where did those past experiences come from? From the earlier experiences. And those ones came from even more previous experience. Where did it first start? And the answer is, it didn't. It didn't start first. It is beginningless. Anadi avidya. And I have explained this earlier also. It's not a cop-out. It's not an excuse. Beginningless is actually very logical. Ignorance is always beginningless. I give the example again. Professor Jain Mahanti, I have said this earlier also, in the Institute of Culture in Gold Park, in a class on Vedanta, he explained it so simply he explained it to us. Ignorance is always beginningless. How? He said, do any of you know German? We said, no. So you're ignorant of German? We said, yes. Since when are you ignorant of German? Someone said, since my birth. Oh, so before your birth you knew German? No. If you're ignorant of German, you have been ignorant of German since beginningless time. However, when you get knowledge of German, the ignorance goes away. So ignorance is beginningless, and the mistakes produced by ignorance also are beginningless. But when the knowledge comes, they will go away. So this is the answer to the fourth question. That doesn't superimposition mean that there is actually a real world? No. You need previous experience, but that experience doesn't have to be experience of a real thing. Children all the time, you can see ghosts. Nobody, the children have not actually experienced a ghost. An actual ghost may not even exist, and the child sees a ghost. So only the samskara is necessary, and the samskara can be produced by past false experiences also. Now, Shankaracharya goes on the offensive. After having refuted the objections, he says, you know, my friends, you all philosophers, you're all following the Vedas. And the Vedas implicitly accept Adhyasa, superimposition. And you being the followers of the Vedas, meaning the other schools, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Purva, Mimamsa, you all accept superimposition. So here he's just debating with the Vedic schools. How do you accept superimposition? If you are, how are the Vedas implying superimposition? Very simple. For example, don't the Vedas say that you die and you go to heaven and then you are reborn again? Yes, we all accept that as Hindus, or also Buddhists, Jains, Sikhs, all of us. We accept that there are many births. In that case, if you accept that there are many births, clearly that which is going from lifetime to lifetime cannot be the body. The body dies. The subtle body goes on from lifetime to lifetime and getting newer and newer bodies. All right, that also we accept. But what's your point? The point is, if you accept Punarjanma, like as any Hindu, Buddhist, Jain, Sikh, you have to accept Punarjanma. That's your belief. That's your religion. If you accept it, then you accept that you are not the body. And if you accept that you're not the body, then the day-to-day activities which are going on, I am tall, I am short, I am a man, I am a woman, I am a Brahmin, I am a Kshatriya, I am a Shudra, all of this must be Adhyasa, superimposition. You all deal with this all the time. You means non-dualist, other than the non-dualist, other than the Advaitin. You Nayayikas, Sankhyas, Yoga, Purva Mimamsakas, all philosophers, you clearly see people identify themselves with the body. And this identification must be false. It must be a superimposition, because you hold that none of us are the body. Because we are born and we die. Body is born and dying, but we go from lifetime to lifetime. If you are an immortal soul, which all religious people accept, then just by the fact of being a religious person, you accept that there must be a superimposition or adhyasa. The identification with body-mind must be false identification. And then he gives examples. Not only the Vedas, our worldly life also gives plenty of example of adhyasa. Rope and snake. Then he says, Ekas Chandrasa Dvitiya Vadbhati. If you look at the moon and you press your eyelid, you will see two moons. Like even now, if you see the computer and you press your eyelid, you will see two computers or more than that. Now, that which is one appears to be two. That which is a rope appears to be a snake. That which is a colorless sky appears to be a blue sky. These are all worldly examples. In Sanskrit, Laukika. And people say, yeah, we know these. These are called illusions, optical illusions, and whatnot, errors. So this is adhyasa, this is superimposition. What is not there is taken to be there. One moon is taken to be two moons. Colorless sky, space is colorless, taken to be blue sky. Another example, the seashell is taken to be silver. That's a classical Sanskrit example, in Sanskrit text you find. So, Laukika, worldly examples of adhyasa, superimposition are there. What's his point? His point is, Vedas, which we all believe in, they imply that there is superimposition. And in day-to-day life, other than the Vedas, in our day-to-day life, Laukika, worldly life, we come across many experiences of superimposition or adhyasa. Therefore, Vaidika, Laukika, sacred and secular, in all fields, adhyasa is accepted. So what's your point? Point here is, in debate, it's a rule. If there is some fault, there's something that I accept, I cannot accuse you of committing a fault if you accept the same thing. We all accept, the Nayayikas, Vaisheshikas, Sankhyas, we all accept adhyasa. Now I can't say that the Advaitin is making a mistake by accepting Adhyasa. You can't accuse me, the non-dualist, of making a mistake when you in your system it is implied in all of your systems. So this is Shankara's reply to the objections. Then he goes forward to prove the existence of Adhyasa. I'll just tell you briefly how he does that, and then conclude with his conclusion. So this is like a sweeping overview. I'm leaving out lots and lots of things. For example, two big things I'm leaving out. Definition of Adhyasa. He has given at least 3 clear definitions of Adhyasa. I'm not going into that. Then there's something called Khyati Vada, the theory of error. The theory of error. You, the non-dualist, you are saying that we are making a big error. What is the error? You are not the body, not the mind, but you think you are body-mind. This is not a real physical universe out there. You think it's a real universe. You're actually pure consciousness. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham. You're making an error. But what is an error? How does an error occur? What is the theory, the philosophy, the mechanics of an error? So you might think that, about a mistake itself, so much thinking has gone on. Every philosophical school, Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Buddhist Vijnanavada, the Shunyavada, Madhyamaka Shunyavada, all of them have their unique theories of error. And so does the non-dualist, Advaitin. So this Khyati, it means false appearance. How does this false appearance happen? This error, how does it happen? Atma Khyati, Asat Khyati, Sat Khyati, so many things are there. Our own theory, Advaitin theory, is called Anirvachaniya Khyati. So all of these are also touched upon by Shankaracharya. I'm not entering that. It's a vast, vast field. Each of these theories will take quite a bit of time to explain. And then what are the faults with each theory and why the non-dualist theory is to be accepted. So that's a big, at least 6 theories of error are taken up and then dismissed by Shankaracharya. And even that is just a sampling. I have a book written by a philosopher in a university in India, which takes up 15 theories of error. They're just talking about mistakes, errors, and they're going into so much detail. I'm not going into that. So what I'll touch upon is Shankaracharya's proving, pramana, proof that there is superimposition, that we are making a terrible mistake and it needs to be corrected, and showing that that is necessary, that this correction of this error is the basis of spiritual inquiry. Okay, first of all, what is this proof? For this, I will introduce a term called arthapati. Arthapati is translated in English as implication or presumption or assumption. It goes like this. Simple example. It's a way of knowing things. What is this way? Presuming something. So example is, the classic example in Indian philosophy is Pino Deva Datta Divana Bhungte Atho Ratro Bhungte. The obese, the fat Devadatta does not eat in daytime, in public. Nobody has seen him eating. So he must be eating at night because he is overweight. He is grossly overweight. So he's obese. Pina means fat or plump or obese. Devadatta, don't bother who Devadatta is. Whenever you want an example, in English you can say Mr. Smith or something. Just some guy. He is plump. He is overweight. He is obese. But you never see him eating. So what do you assume? What do you presume? He eats in secret. He eats at night. Pino Devadatta. Devadatta who is fat or overweight. Somebody corrected me. So don't say fat, Swami. Say large. So, okay, large. So the large Devadatta does not eat at daytime. We don't see him eating at daytime. Therefore, we assume he must be eating at night. Where does he get all those extra calories from? He must be eating at night. That assumption, that presumption, that's called arthapati. That's one way of knowing things. How does this relate to what we are doing? Here is the thing. What Shankaracharya is saying is that we have to use this to develop our theory to come to this idea of adhyasa, to this idea of Maya. Everything is Maya, everything is an appearance, that we are making a serious mistake and error. All of this is arthapati. Arthapati. Based on what? He'll give examples. Again, from the Vedas. The Vedas, the Upanishads, the Gita, they are the basis. For example, Shankara, but the non-dualist will say, for example, when the Gita, we find in the Gita, whoever thinks that this self, the Atman, is the killer or is killed, they do not know, they are mistaken, because the Atman is neither the killer nor the killed. Yainam manyate, yaschainam manyate hanta. Yamanyate hanta, yaschainam manyate hatam. Ubhau tau na vijanito, nayam hanti na hanyate. In the Gita, 2nd chapter, Krishna says, whoever thinks that the self is the killer, whoever thinks the self is killed, does not know, because the self is neither the killer nor the killed. Why this killer and killing? Because it's in the battlefield situation. But what it means is, the self is not the doer of deeds, nor the enjoyer or sufferer of the results of deeds. Is not, in Sanskrit, karta bhokta, not an agent of action, nor the enjoyer or sufferer of the results of action. The Gita says this. Upanishad says, Katha Upanishad, which we just read, it says this. Nayam hanyate na hanyamane sharire. When the body is destroyed, the Atman is not destroyed. Now the opponent would say, yes, I remember reading the Gita, the Upanishad. You don't have to teach me Gita and Upanishad. I know them. What's your point? My point is that the Gita, the Upanishad, which we all believe in, which we are studying, and we think that's the truth, it says that you do not die. You are not the killer. But in our day-to-day life, we feel that we feel we are the doer, we are the enjoyer, we are the sufferer. Somebody is born, somebody is dying. We feel all that. We see all that in day-to-day life. Now you see two things. Just like the fat or the large Devadatta does not eat in the daytime, therefore he must be eating at night. Gita says, you are not born, you do not die, you are not the killer, you are not killed, and yet we feel we are born, we die, we are the killer, or we are killed, or we are doer, or the sufferer. Now these two do not match. So what do you presume? You presume that what we are experiencing, what we think we are, that we are born and we die, or we are the doer of the deeds, or the sufferer of the consequences. This must be adhyasa. This must be a mistake. So this is arthapati. Let me repeat it briefly. You'll see the argument. The argument is, the large Devadatta and the overweight Devadatta does not eat at day, in the daytime. Nobody has seen him eating. Therefore, I presume he eats at night. Otherwise, how could he get those extra calories? Similarly, I am sure that the self is not born, does not die, is not the doer of deeds, not the experiencer of the results of actions. How are you sure? Because Gita says so, Upanishad says so, and we are all followers of the Vedic religion. And yet, what is the fact? Just like we see the Devadatta is overweight, we are seeing that we all feel that we are the doer of deeds, we are born, we die. In that case, what we seem to be experiencing must be a mistake, must be adhyasa, must be a superimposition, must be due to identification with body and mind. It is the body which is born, it is the body which is dying. Somehow we are thinking we are born with the birth of the body, we die with the death of the body. Krishna says very clearly, one example, and many such examples in Upanishads and all, we say that you are immortal. Krishna says, na jayate mriyate va kadachit. It's neither born, never dies. So Gita, Krishna is saying, you're neither born nor do you die. And yet it is our common universal knowledge that people are born and people die. That I, the self, I have been born and I will die. That these two are not matching. You see, these two are not matching. Just like large Devadatta not eating and not matching, there must be something going on, that he must be eating in secret at night. Similarly, you are immortal. and you feel that I'm born and I will die. These two are not matching. How can you be immortal and then be born and dying? In that case, this born and dying must be because of identification with the body-mind. Because clearly body-mind is born and body-mind dies, and body is born, body dies clearly. So this identification is adhyasa, superimposition, and this is proved by arthapati. In fact, Shankaracharya goes on to show just about every aspect of our religious and worldly lives is dominated, is made possible, is going on because of superimposition, adhyasa. He says, not only kartritva, bhoktritva. Kartritva is doing things. Bhoktritva is enjoying or suffering. Both are possible because of, both are happening because of identification with the body. In identification with the body, I say, I talk, I walk, I work. In identification with the senses and the mind, I say, I am suffering pain, I am enjoying pleasure. So, Karta Bhokta is because of adhyasa, because of superimposition. But even more than that, even more deeply, knowing, being a knowing being, that I see, hear, smell, taste, touch, I think, I remember, I do Vedanta, I do science, religion, whatever, all this knowing, knowledge, this is also because of adhyasa, superimposition. Pramatritva. It's only consciousness in identification with the mind says, I am a thinking being. In identification with the mind and the senses, consciousness says, I am a thinking, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching being. Only in identification with the mind and the senses, consciousness says, I know physics and chemistry and science, like my religion and politics and all of that. So pramatritvam, knowership, that comes because of adhyasa. Subtle point here. Jnata, jnana means knowledge, consciousness. Knowledge itself or consciousness itself is your real nature. But jnata, pramata, knower. When knowledge, consciousness becomes a knower, that requires identification with body-mind. By itself, consciousness is not a knower. You see, there are other indicators. For example, to know something, there must be change. To focus on you, my eyes must focus, mind must think. Then only I will see, oh, this is a class. Here are so many people. How many people are there today? I look there and I say 97. How many things changed? The focus of my eyes changed. My memory kicked in and said, that's the numeral 97. My cognitive faculty reported there are 97 people there on Zoom. Now, all these changes, they must be in the body-mind. They cannot be in pure consciousness. Yet without these changes, you can't know anything. To know requires change. How can the Atman change? Atman does not change. Pure consciousness, you don't change. In your awareness, body-mind are changing, and identification with body and mind, you say, I am a knower. That's why notice Vivekananda's definition of the Atman. Your knowledge itself, not that the Atman knows, it is knowledge itself. Not that the Atman exists, it is existence itself. Not that the Atman is happy, it is happiness itself. What is knowledge itself? Consciousness. And then with body, with mind, which are changing, you become a knower. So, gyatritvam or pramatritvam, knowership, being a knower, enjoyer, sufferer. Kartritva, doership. Bhoktritva, enjoyership or sufferership. I'm inventing all sorts of horrible new words. Enjoyership or sufferership. All of these are because of adhyasa. Without adhyasa, none of these are possible. Now, notice, it doesn't mean that once you break through superimposition, once you become enlightened, you can't know anything, hear anything, smell anything. No, everything can go on as it is. Once you know a movie to be a movie, you don't have to switch up the movie. You can watch the movie. You'll really enjoy the movie at that time. So once you know the blue sky is actually not blue, it still looks blue. Similarly, you know that you are pure awareness. You are not really seer or hearer or thinker or rememberer or whatever. But thinking, remembering, seeing, hearing, enjoying, suffering, all can go on. You'll be perfectly all right. You are the witness consciousness which enables all of it to happen. Now, I'm not going to go more than this. Shankaracharya also uses some what is called anumana, pashwadi avisheshat, he says, which is the process of inference in order to prove that there is superimposition. I'm not going to explain that part. I'm just going to jump to the very end. What good does this do for my spiritual life? What good is it for? What's its connection with Vedanta, which we're going to study? Shankaracharya says, at the root of all our problem is superimposition, adhyasa. Not knowing that I am Satchidananda, I am the Atman, and then taking this body and mind which appears to be myself. This is superimposition. Not knowing that there is a rope, thinking that the rope to be that thing to be a snake. Not knowing that you are Satchidananda, you are pure consciousness, and taking yourself to be this body mind which appears. Moment this body mind appears, then there is pravritti nivritti, that is trying to do something and avoid something else. Because when I take myself to be the body mind, all the problems of body mind become my problems. There is hunger and thirst, and the mind has many, many desires from many past lives. There is anxiety and fear. There's so many worldly projects, even other worldly projects of going to heaven after death. All of this is because of adhyasa. And they become my problems. And then I start doing things to take care of those problems, karma. And those karmas are born of desire, born of temptation, of terror, fear, anxiety, or desire. And those karmas give rise to results, karma phala, good and bad results. And those results I have to enjoy or suffer in this life. If I cannot exhaust it in this life, it will produce more bodies and more limited existences. Jayate mriyate, is born and is dies, and then is born again, and then dies again, and then is born again. So the chain of birth and death continues. This massive wheel of samsara continues grinding me down life after life. How do you solve this problem? Go to the root of it. It's all because of adhyasa, of superimposition. And how do you remove superimposition? How do you remove the problem of the snake? You can't drive it away with a stick. You can't call a snake charmer. You have to see that it's actually a rope and not a snake. You have to remove the rope ignorance, and then the snake superimposition will disappear. You have to remove the rope ajnana, then the snake adhyasa will disappear. Similarly, all of this is due to superimposition or adhyasa. Superimposition is due to ignorance, and ignorance can be removed only by knowledge, and knowledge comes only by inquiry. Knowledge comes only by inquiry, vichara. Therefore, the first sutra of the Brahma Sutra is Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Hence, therefore, an inquiry into Brahman, your own real nature. What will that do? It will produce a knowledge of your real nature. What will that do? When you know yourself as your real nature, then you will not take yourself to be the body mind which is appearing. You know that you are pure consciousness. Body mind will still continue to appear. No problem. That's your glory. Then you can live life as a Jivan Mukta. Shankaracharya mentions in this Adhyasa Bhashya one important thing about Adhyasa. I'll say this and finish. One important thing about Adhyasa. What is superimposed can never affect the ground of superimposition. The Adhyasa can never affect the adhisthana. That is, the snake, no matter how poisonous, can't make the rope poisonous. The water, all the water in a mirage is not sufficient to wet one grain of sand of the desert. The sand and mirage example. That's Shankaracharya's own example. That all the water in a big oasis which appears in a mirage is not enough to wet one grain of sand because it's not there. It's an appearance. Similarly, all the body, mind, suffering, samsara has not done any damage to you, cannot harm you, and will not ever harm you. You were, are, and will always be perfectly fine. Once you realize that it's an adhyasa, it's an appearance, You can continue to be the Satchidananda Brahman. You can continue to have body, mind. You can continue using the body, mind to see, hear, smell, taste. You can enjoy, suffer. All of that can continue. You will be perfectly all right, because that which appears in a superimposition, that can never affect the reality. Appearance never affects reality. It does not improve the reality. It does not damage the reality also. Does not, cause any harm to the reality. You are the reality. This world of appearance, including this body and mind, does not increase you by in the least bit, does not impinge upon your glory, does not reduce you, does not harm you in the least bit. With this realization, when you live life in this world, now you are free of the Adhyasa now. You realize I am Satchidananda. And yet the world will keep on appearing. No longer are you subject to that superimposition. Although you can live in this world just like everybody else. One slight subtle point here. After enlightenment, what will continue and what will not continue? This question arises if you think about it. See, question might arise that if I see the rope as a rope, generally the snake disappears. I don't see the snake anymore. So after seeing that I am Brahman, will the universe disappear? The answer is yes and no. Yes, in the sense that you realize there is no universe, only Brahman exists. But no, in the sense that you will still see the same things, remember the same things, eat and taste the same things. The world will continue to appear as it is. After knowing the movie to be a movie, the movie will not stop, need not stop. You can enjoy the movie. After knowing the sky to be colorless, you look up, it still looks blue, but you know it's colorless. Now, so there are two kinds of adhyasa here. There are a lot of discussion here, but there are two kinds of adhyasa, where after enlightenment, the appearance disappears. Like after waking up from a dream, the dream thing has disappeared. After seeing the rope, the snake has disappeared. Or the other kind of adhyasa, even after you know the truth, the appearance continues, but you're not fooled. A mirage. Vivekananda says, I looked back in the deserts of Rajputana and I knew it was a mirage, but it looked back, it still looked like water. You look up, the sky still looks blue. All right. Here is the wonderful thing. After becoming enlightened, what will happen? What will disappear and what will not disappear? What will disappear? The identification of self with the not self will forever disappear. You will never ever mistake the body mind for yourself. You will always effortlessly be very clear that you are this immortal, limitless one existence, consciousness, bliss. This will be very clear to you and effortlessly clear. It will never reappear. This, I am the body mind. So this will not reappear again. Like the snake, when you know the rope, it will disappear. Like the dream, when you wake up, it will disappear. Actually disappear. You will have no problem at all. Second, what will continue? Like the blue sky, like the water in the mirage, the appearance of my water in the mirage, what will continue? What will continue is the appearance of the world, appearance of the body, appearance of the mind and the personality. You will never think I am that anymore. That identification will never come again. But the appearance of the body, mind, universe will continue. Let that continue. You have no problem. Then it will remain as an appearance of the self, as a glory of yourself. You appear in all these amazing ways in this universe. So after that, life, as long as this appearance continues till the death of that particular body of the Jivan Mukta, it will be the life of an enlightened life, Jivan Mukti. Life of joy, fearlessness, love, selflessness, oneness with everybody, complete peace and freedom of anxiety from anxiety, and life will be a blessing to yourself and to everybody else. So this is where Shankaracharya he ends the Adhyasa Bhashya. The very last line is, he says, Asya anartha heto prahanaya. In order to remove this great anartha, great disaster of samsara, which is caused by adhyasa. Atma ekatva vidya pratipattaye sarve vedanta arabhante. In order to show you that this one consciousness, you are this one consciousness, all Vedantic teachings are started with that. And so Brahma Sutra is also going to start with an inquiry into the self. When the inquiry into the self will give rise to knowledge of yourself as one pure consciousness. That knowledge will remove adhyasa, superimposition. Once superimposition goes, you will never think of yourself as body, mind, though they continue to appear. You will never think of yourself as body, mind. Then you will never feel that the limitations of body, mind are your problems. And you will never act through the body, mind for your own personal sake anymore. And there will be no further consequences, karmic consequences. Not only that, all past karmic consequences also will disappear. So you'll see they are all appearances. They're not real in themselves. So this is the, I did not do justice to it. We will dive a little deeper next time. I've just given you a gist, a sort of overview of what Shankaracharya said. We'll dive into some of the more subtle arguments a little bit next time. And I have some very nice stories about the Adhyasa Bhashya for you next time. All right, let's look at some of the comments. Anuradha Raichuri says, any difference between error and mistake? Here we are not making a differentiation between error and mistake. We're generally using the term error, mistake, optical illusion, in that sense. Rajendraji says, in rope snake analogy, knowledge obliterates falsity of snake. In analogy of mirage, knowledge does not make water disappear. That's just now I mentioned it. So there are different kinds of superimpositions. In some cases, knowledge will reveal to you the reality and the appearance will disappear. Snake disappears, dream disappears when you wake up. But sometimes it will not disappear. So there is a distinction. See, Adhyasa, I just explained Adhyasa just like this. But you know how much detail they've gone into. There is Sopadhika Adhyasa, Nirupadhika Adhyasa. One type of Adhyasa caused by the presence of upadhis, which will continue as long as the upadhis are there. But your knowledge will free you from it. In fact, if I see my notes, I keep saying Adhyasa, Adhyasa, superimposition, but see the depth they've gone into. In one place, I found superimposition, Adhyasa, 20 types of Adhyasa, 20 types. Arthadhyasa, Jnanadhyasa, Pratyakadhyasa, Parakadhyasa, Swarupa, Tadatmya Adhyasa, Samsarga, Sambandha Adhyasa, Dharma Adhyasa, Dharmi Adhyasa, Samskara Adhyasa, Sopadhika Adhyasa, Nirupadhika Adhyasa. So this Sopadhika, Nirupadhika Adhyasa, this explains the difference between these two kinds of appearances. One which disappears upon knowledge arising, the other which continues, but you are not fooled anymore. You thought it was water, you rushed to drink water in the desert and you discovered it's not water, it looks like water. Then you will walk away from it, you look back, it still looks like water, but you're not fooled because you know it's not water, it just looks like that. I gave you the example, I've told this story many times. In Himalayas, this non-dualist Swami I was studying Ashtavakra with, and he said how the film crew had come and they were filming the Ganga there, and he wanted to see how you can see the Ganga in a box, the television. And the film crew put a television and they showed him, focused the camera on the Ganga and they showed him. And the monk told us, Sab dikhta tha Mahatma ji, Ganga ji bhi hai, kal shabd bhi ho raha hai pani ka. The Ganga is flowing and the gurgling sound of the water I could see. And I asked that gentleman, can you give me a cup of Ganga water, holy Ganga water from your magic box? And the gentleman laughed. Oh, Swami, what are you saying? It's not there, it just looks like that. Hai nahi, dikhta hai. Then he told us, I still remember, sweeping his hand like this, glorious vista of towering mountains and glaciers and blazing blue sky above and hundreds of feet below the Ganga, the Deodar forests all around. He said, To Mahatma ji, ye sab hai nahi, dikhta hai. Ye dikhta hai kuch nahi. All of this is appearing. It's not like now you have 3D movie, 4D, 5D movie. You can hear, smell, taste, touch, but it's all an appearance in consciousness. Hai nahi, dikhta hai. It doesn't exist. It looks like that. Now, there are different kinds of adhyasas which will explain the difference about what Rajendraji is asking. Alpanaji is asking, will you consider giving lectures on Vichar Sagar? Is explained in detail. I don't know. I don't really have that plan right now because we must do the Upanishads first. That is the basis. Vichar Sagar is a much later text. Nishchal Dasji. Wonderful text. It's sort of a late Vedanta text. There are many nice stories about Nishchal Dasji, but anyway, not today. But yeah, right now I don't have a plan for doing that. Sridhama says in the fourth objection, the opponent is questioning how the knowledge of the world started first, not the ignorance of Brahman started. Isn't that right? Yes. How did the knowledge of the world start first? Where was the first error? Where the first error, the first adhyasa, first superimposition, how did it start? Well, it's just like Vachaspati Mishra, one of the great sub-commentators. He writes here, Bijankuravat, like the seed and the plant. Which came first? You can't say. From seed to plant, plant to seed, seed to plant again. So it's a beginningless series. And that series is rooted in ignorance. And therefore the question arises then next, how did ignorance start then? So superimposition is rooted in ignorance. Superimposition, because ignorance is beginningless, superimposition is also beginningless. That's Vachaspati Mishra's answer. And what Professor J.N. Mahanti contributes to it is clarifying. It shows that it's very logical to say ignorance is beginningless, and therefore the mistakes born of ignorance can also be beginningless. Ajnana is beginningless, so adhyasa also is beginningless. Neelaji says, when we see the blue sky, it is an experience of all the people, not an individual who alone is superimposing the sky. Right. So this is not a question of alone. Blue sky, how does it actually happen? It's not that there is a blue in the sky there. There is some scattering of light by the laws of physics. And then what kicks into operation after that is our own optical equipment. So it's not imposed by you individually, but it is because of Ishvara's creation, the world and the sunlight and the skies like that, and then our particular equipment of the body mind, which makes us see it as blue. So everybody will see it as blue. An animal with a different kind of eye may not see it as blue. All right. Shravani says, so why should we try to keep the body alive, and why should we treat the body? The thing is, don't make a mistake in Vyavahara, in transactions. In Vyavahara, in transactions, in day-to-day life, it should continue. What should be removed is our ignorance of the underlying reality that you are Satchidananda. After you realize you are Satchidananda, you can still continue to care for this body appearance, or you may not care for this body appearance. Because if it disappears also, no harm, no loss to you. Or you can care. If you care, then the body appearance will continue and make you capable of interacting with everybody else, all the other body appearances. If you don't, that particular body appearance will die, but you know you are Atman, you're fine. So, but until that time, until ignorance is removed, until superimposition is removed, we must care for this body mind, because this is our only instrument of, spiritual life, of investigating this problem and doing sadhana and becoming enlightened. Shravani says, in the arthapati argument, doesn't reference to Gita, Upanishad, etc. make it dependent on authority of Shruti and Shabda? Yes, it does. That's why I mentioned it in the last class, that remember the context. Here, Shankaracharya is primarily arguing against and with other Vedic schools who have already accepted the authority of the Upanishads and therefore the authority of the Gita. So for them, it's not a problem that, oh, you are quoting authority. It's a source of knowledge, a pramana, Shabda pramana for those Vedic schools. So they will have no problem. But what you are saying is, what about those who don't believe in this? What about people who don't believe in the Gita or the Upanishads? Well, they will come in the second chapter of the Brahma Sutras, which is, there is a section called Tarkapada, the section on reasoning and debate, where he engages with Buddhists and other schools who do not accept the authority of the Vedas. So there he will not quote. He will not make this particular arthapati argument. This is a Shruti arthapati. Shruti arthapati means a presumption based on Upanishads, on the Shruti. That will not work against the Buddhist, for example. If you say, Krishna said, or the Katha Upanishad said, you are neither born nor you die, nor do you die, and we feel we are born and we die, and therefore this must be adhyasa, superimposition. The Buddhist will reply, the Katha Upanishad could be wrong. It could be that you are born and you are dying, because I don't believe the Katha Upanishad. In that case, you can't argue from Upanishads or Gita. You have to argue through just reason, logic. That's done in the second chapter. Sri Ram says, who is experiencing the Adhyasa? Not the Akarta self or Jada body mind, but the non-existent ego, the original mistake. Is this a reasonable explanation? Who is experiencing the Adhyasa? The effects of Adhyasa. Adhyasa and effects of Adhyasa is the Jiva, is a sentient being, us, you, I. Well, who is the Jiva? In reality, pure consciousness, Atman Brahman. But for practical purposes, a curious mixture of Atman Brahman, of pure consciousness, and body mind. Just like, what are you experiencing when you experience a snake? You are experiencing a curious mixture of a real rope and an illusory snake. You see, you can say that, no, when I'm seeing a snake, I'm seeing the snake. You're not, because there is no snake really. Then how are you seeing it? You're actually seeing a rope and you're mistaking it for a snake. So what you are seeing is a curious mixture of a real rope and an illusory snake, a mistaken snake, an erroneous, not that the snake is erroneous, you are in error about the snake. Similarly, when we are in superimposition, in samsara, in ignorance, we are a curious mixture of a real Brahman or Atman and an illusory body-mind world. This curious mixture of reality and unreality. I'm quoting directly from Shankaracharya. Satyanrite mithuni kritya. He says here in the sentence which we read, Satyanrite mithuni kritya, combining truth and falsity. What do we do? Ahamidam mamedam iti naisargikoyam loka vyavahara. There is the natural worldly existence, activities. I am this, this is mine, I am this body, I am this mind, I am this person. This body is mine, these possessions are mine, this house is mine, these relatives are mine. This is natural human intercourse, natural human behavior. And he says, naisargika. This is natural in the sense, this doesn't have to be taught. We are born with it. Every child will develop this, an individual ego, identification with the body. Child psychologists, they have shown that within a certain period of development of the child, all these things keep coming one after another. Seeing oneself as separate from the world, seeing oneself as the body, this is I, and so on. So this is, he says, Shankaracharya says, naisargika, this is natural. For breaking the adhyasa, for getting out of it, that will not happen naturally. For that, you have to turn up for Vedanta class. Last one, vritti sarupyam itaratra. Is this reference to adhyasa? It is not, but it has to be. That's where Advaitin will say, it is actually adhyasa. In Yoga Sutras, when mind is active, we get identified with the mind. The yogis are bothered only about the identification. But that identification is an error. That's what Advaita Vedanta wants to say. See, where the yogis make a mistake is, they see the identification and they see the identification is the problem. I, pure consciousness, I identify so closely with body and mind, and hence there is a problem. So I must not identify with mind and then body. So what do I have to do? I have to shut down the mind in samadhi. Whereas the Advaitin says, look, this identification is a mistake. You are never this body mind. Even when the mind is active, you don't have to shut down the mind. Let the mind work, let it not work, it's fine. Whatever happens in the mirror, you are not there in the mirror. It's your reflection in the mirror. You're not physically connected to the mirror. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. I would encourage you to read the handout, those notes of Mani Dravid Shastri ji, and explore the Adhyasa concept on your own. Next class will be much lighter. It will be more entertaining, lots of stories and fun, because we're going to wrap it up.